Perfect. Well, it's 10:05, so I think we can get started. Thank you all for coming this morning. We're really excited to talk about this RFP process um, for the Financial Empowerment Center. For those that do not know me, my name is Marty Kennedy. I am an NFocus Fellow with the City of South Bend. I've been with the city for about a year and a half now, working on all things financial empowerment, and lately have been helping develop this Financial Empowerment Center. Sarah, I'm not sure if you are on, if you'd like to introduce yourself as well.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Sarah Schaefer, Deputy Director for the Department of Community Investment and supporting Marty in his work on the Financial Empowerment Center. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thanks, Sarah. Um, just a few, little bit of housekeeping before we get started. I'll present about a 15 to 20-minute presentation to kind of go over a lot of what the Financial Empowerment Center is, what a nonprofit service provider will do, and what the RFP looks like. Um, After that, we'll kind of move to answering some questions. If you have questions, there's a Q&A feature in Teams at the top. We That may or may not work. So if that works, please feel free to put your questions in there throughout the meeting. We'll work to answer them after the presentation. If that Q&A feature doesn't work, feel free to just use the chat feature um, to ask your questions. And at the end, again, after the presentation, Sarah and I will go through those questions. So during the meeting, feel free to just use the Q&A, and if that doesn't work, use the chat feature. Um, but we can get started with the presentation. Again, thank you all for coming. We're happy to talk about the City's of South Bend Financial Empowerment Center request for proposals for a nonprofit service provider. I'll first kind of quickly go over what a financial empowerment center is. Some of you may have heard this, some of you may have not. So um, I'll kind of give a high level description of financial empowerment centers. Um, the city's Financial Empowerment Center will be a municipal program that will offer no cost one-on-one financial counseling for all South Bend residents. A South Bend resident can come to a financial counseling the center as many times as they want. They can have as many appointments as they want. The first counseling appointment looks a little bit more like an intake process where the counselor gets to meet the resident, understand their finances, and understand how the resident will want to improve their finances. And subsequent meetings will focus on one of the four areas in that bottom graphic: banking, savings, credit, or debt. Um, each of these four areas kind of has a service plan or curriculum that we will help the residents through. And these kind of 8 boxes at the bottom are key performance measures for each program area. So for example, if a resident comes in and really wants to work on savings and increasing their savings, the key metrics we use to understand how our counseling is doing is if the resident adopts new saving behaviors and or increases their savings by 1 week's worth of income. This is a program that is developed through Bloomberg and the Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund. The Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund is a national organization that works to embed financial empowerment programming into different governments and localities. And they are funded through Bloomberg Philanthropy. So we've been working with both organizations to help implement this program in South Bend. I'll go into it a little bit later, but there are over 30 operating financial empowerment centers in the United States, operated and helped get started by the Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund. We're really excited to say that South Bend will be the first financial empowerment center in Indiana, which is really exciting. Um, how financial empowerment centers work is the city will partner with a nonprofit who will oversee the day-to-day operations of the center. This is what this RFP is for the nonprofit service provider. We'll get into the roles and responsibilities a little bit later, but on a very general sense, this Financial Empowerment Center is a partnership between the nonprofit and the city. The city will kind of provide program oversight of the Financial Empowerment Center, while the nonprofit will run the day-to-day operations of the center, hire and manage the staff, and ensure that these counseling appointments are going successfully. Um, the Financial Empowerment Center will be located in the new MLK Dream Center when that renovation is finished. We're currently exploring temporary or drop-in locations before the Martin Luther King Jr. Center opens so that we can start this program and start this service sooner. So we're eyeing a fall start date for the Financial Empowerment Center. The MLK Center may not be done by then, so we're, like I said, exploring temporary locations, but eventually that permanent home will be the MLK Dream Center. The tenets of FEC's Financial Empowerment Center model. The key tenets of the Financial Empowerment Center model are the four following kind of statements. One is to provide professional one-on-one financial counseling as a free public service. Two is to systematically track data and outcomes for client management and evaluation. This is done at an aggregate level to understand the needs of South Bend if a lot of clients or residents are focusing on savings or banking or debt. This is all helpful information to help ensure that the Financial Empowerment Center is running successfully and residents are getting the services they need. The third is to connect to a range of local government and nonprofit services delivery systems. One of the key aspects of the Financial Empowerment Center we've been working on lately is to help create partnerships with different social service providers to help provide referrals or cross promotion or even embed financial counseling into their programming and curriculum themselves. On the Financial Empowerment Center in good relationships and able to refer to a wide variety of services is key to make sure residents are getting the services they need. And the fourth tenet is to prioritize sustainability efforts to become a permanent service in the locality. We hope and we plan for this Financial Empowerment Center to continue as a program for many years to come, and so we're really excited to get started. On a national level, like I said, there are 30 financial empowerment centers open. 48 are currently, so 18 are in the process of opening or in this implementation phase that the city of South Bend is currently in. Nationally, financial empowerment centers have served over 150,000 clients in total across these 30 partners, has helped reduce residents' debt by over 225 million and increase savings by over $45 million, which is a very exciting thing. So the main takeaway from this is a very successful program nationally that has been implemented in a lot of different cities and a lot of different localities. And so we're really excited for the city for South Bend to implement this program and work with a nonprofit service provider to operate a successful program. Nationally, looking at demographics, the Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund did a 2022 study of 14,000 clients across the nation that use financial empowerment centers. This top half are the demographics of these 14,000 clients. 47% of residents were Black, 37% were white, 5% were multiple races, and 11% were other races or ethnicities. 24% of FEC clients identified as Latinx or Hispanic. 65% attended 2 or more sessions. The average income was $32,000, and 90% are banked. So we're seeing particularly low to moderate income residents utilizing these services nationally, which is a priority for the city of South Bend to make sure that we're assisting our low income residents and all residents of South Bend get the financial counseling they need. And on a individual level for residents, on average, like I talked about earlier, when a client enters into one of these service plans of savings, debt, credit, or banking, on average, nationally, we find that the Cities for Financial Empowerment has found a $3,700 increase in savings for residents, an over $5,000 in debt reduced, a 38-point increase in credit score, and about 1.3 delinquent accounts closed on average. This does not happen in one session, and all 4 things happen in one session. But like I said, when someone enters into a savings service plan, for example, throughout their counseling sessions, we see that $3,700 increase in savings. So that, again, was kind of a larger overview of the Financial Empowerment Center. I'll now kind of talk about roles and responsibilities of the city versus the nonprofit service provider for the Financial Empowerment Center. Like I mentioned, this is a partnership between the government and the local nonprofit. This structure kind of shows you how the program will operate. with the different organizations. The CFE fund is the Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund. They are the ones that oversee this program and will provide us with grant funding to administer the program. The local government will oversee the Financial Empowerment Center program. That will mainly take place with a local government manager who will be a part-time, well, it will be a, excuse me, it'll be a government employee whose part of their portfolio is to help oversee and manage the Financial Empowerment Center. So from the city's point of view, there will be a touch point person that oversees the center. That local government manager will work with the financial counseling provider, that is the nonprofit, um, that will manage the day-to-day services of the Financial Empowerment Center. The nonprofit will have a staff, the Financial Empowerment Center staff, which will be comprised of one full-time FEC program manager who will work on managing the counselors, managing different programming for the Financial Empowerment Center, and kind of overseeing the center itself. And then two full-time FEC counselors who will provide the financial counseling for residents. So kind of how we're seeing it here again is these Financial Empowerment Center program manager and financial counselors are the staff of the nonprofit. The city will have a local government manager who will work in coordination with the nonprofit to administer and oversee the program, but it is that financial counseling provider, that local nonprofit, that will manage the day-to-day operations of the center. Um, we'll get into a little bit more detail, but I kind of wanted to show this graphic to show the different responsibilities between that local government manager who is city staff and that Financial Empowerment Center program manager who is nonprofit staff. The local government manager will be responsible for providing program oversight and strategic development of the Financial Empowerment Center if we need to make additional changes or pivots or work to increase the effectiveness of the program. They also will work with stakeholder management with different partners throughout the funding partners, programmatic partners, social service partners throughout the city, and work with city stakeholders as well. They will primarily be helping with sustainability and fundraising to ensure that the Financial Empowerment Center is funded for to continue services for many years, and will also, from the city side, help with marketing and outreach to promote the center. The FEC program manager, who will be working in the Financial Empowerment Center full time, will be responsible for counselor management, managing those two full-time financial counselors. Like I've said many times, overseeing the day-to-day operations of the center, working on scheduling residential appointments with the financial counselors, helping with FECBOT data compliance. FECBOT is the database that the Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund requires all financial empowerment centers to utilize. This is a database that's provided free to the nonprofit to utilize, but the program manager will be responsible for managing the compliance and of that database. And finally, they also will be helpful in forging and managing partnerships with different social service providers to make sure, like I said, we have a healthy and robust referral system. These next two pages kind of go over the responsibilities of the financial counseling provider and the city. This is in the RFP itself. I'll just kind of read these through. A lot of it is what I just said before, but I wanted to go into it a little bit more in detail. So the financial counseling provider, that nonprofit that oversees the data operations, will manage day-to-day operations of the FEC, recruit, hire, and supervise the Financial Empowerment Center staff, collect data using the FEC database, which I mentioned earlier is no cost to the nonprofit to run and administer, that is provided by the Cities for Financial Empowerment Fund, support the continued education and training of Financial Empowerment Center staff, lead marketing and outreach efforts for FEC promotion, including outreach events and presentations, adhere to the city's reporting requirements to make sure that the program is being run successfully, coordinate with city personnel, particularly that local government manager, to develop and maintain social service partnerships, and finally, coordinate routinely with the city's local government manager about Financial Empowerment Center operations. So this is kind of the breadth of what, if your organization is selected as the nonprofit service provider, you will be doing at the Financial Empowerment Center. The responsibility of the city Particularly the local government manager, but the city in general will be to manage overall operations of the Financial Empowerment Center, including program oversight, design, and implementation. Conducting formal reviews of the financial counseling provider to ensure, like I said, the program is running smoothly and successfully, support fundraising efforts to ensure program sustainability, and coordinate with a nonprofit on both social service partnerships and marketing and outreach. And finally, the city will host the FEC website, which is the place where information will be shared. The ability to sign up for financial counseling appointments will be. The city will host that website. And so I know that is a lot of information. So like I said, if you have any questions, feel free to put in the chat now or at the end of the meeting. The final section I'll go on in this presentation is the request for proposals overview. Last week, like I said, we released our request for proposals for a local nonprofit to run the day-to-day operations of the center and serve as that financial counseling provider. What we are looking for is a qualified 501c3 nonprofit organization who is able and willing to implement high volume, quality, one-on-one financial counseling services to South Bend residents, particularly to low income families and residents. The RFP, the selected organization will be entered into a $500,000 contract for 2 years of operations. That is with the option of renewal after the second year. Those $500,000 are to run the center for 2 years, and that will cover the cost of staff for the Financial Empowerment Center, marketing efforts, the continued training and education of the staff, miscellaneous expenses and supplies and equipment, and there may be a couple other of costs I am missing right now that are in the RFP as kind of a sample budget. So I encourage you in the RFP to look at that to kind of see an estimation of how that $500,000 will be spent across the 2 years. And finally, the not selected organization will enter into a partnership with the city to implement the FEC programming and services. Like I said, this is not kind of a traditional grantor-grantee RFP. This is much more of a partnership. The city providing oversight, the nonprofit doing day-to-day operations. As we are working to design and implement the Financial Empowerment Center, the selected organization will absolutely be at the table helping us to plan and design and implement the center once selected. Our RFP timeline, the RFP got posted on February 13th. I'll say it at the end again, but the website for that is southbendin.gov/FEC or southbendin.gov/financial-empowerment. It will all go to the same website. On April 8th, any official questions about the RFP must be submitted to the city to allow us time to answer those questions and publish those questions the week after. Because on April 15th, the RFP submission will be due by 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to, you can either mail it, the information on mailing is in the RFP, or email it to rdcrfp@southbendin.gov. In May, the city will conduct its review process and will select a nonprofit provider who will then enter into kind of the contract agreement and working through the contract. In August and September, once the contract begins, we will begin hiring and training that Financial Empowerment Center staff, the program manager, and 2 financial counselors, with an estimated timeline of the fall for our soft launch to begin in those temporary drop-in services, and finally having our full launch in the MLK Dream Center in 2025. I wanted to quickly go over kind of the proposal evaluation criteria. The RFP has a set of some questions that we'd like the nonprofit to answer, kind of going over these different criterias. The nonprofit's proposed approach to running and operating the center and how your plan to do that. The organizational capability to show you have the financial and organizational capacity to actually administer this program. We ideally will have a partner that has experience in financial empowerment work, whether that be counseling or coaching or a different form of financial empowerment programming. Experience in community involvement and engagement. We love to have the nonprofit dedicated to the community and has shown experience in engaging in outreach. If your organization has not done work in South Bend yet, we expect you to thoroughly describe the work you've done in other communities and how that will translate to success in the city of South Bend. We also want to make sure that organizations have the financial capacity to um, administer the center. And finally, any other unique features of the applicant organization proposed in the RFP. This could include bilingual services or additional features that will help boost that application. So in total, the weight of all these is 100 points. That is how we will use to review the nonprofits. Once we review the RFPs, the city has the option, if needed, to conduct final interviews with the different nonprofits. And like I said, we'll make its decision in May. So submitting applications, the ideal applicants will demonstrate in their RFP proposal a thorough proposed approach to successfully operate the Financial Empowerment Center, the organizational and financial capacity to run the Financial Empowerment Center, a willingness to partner with the city and work with the city to implement and design the program, a thorough understanding of program responsibilities and parameters, significant experience in financial empowerment work, like I said, counseling, coaching, financial assistance, other programming, experience working with financially vulnerable residents, and proposing excellent strategies and dedication to community engagement and outreach. I will say the success of the Financial Empowerment Center largely and significantly depends on the nonprofit that will administer the center. We are really looking forward to partnering with a dedicated nonprofit to administer the center, to conduct effective outreach, to conduct effective counseling, and to ensure that this is a really beneficial and helpful program for South Bend residents. So if you would like to view the RFP, you can go to southbendin.gov/FEC. The RFP and all the information about it are there. And so thank you for allowing me to present. If you have any questions, we'll be here for the next we have till 11, but if you have any questions, now is the time to put it in the chat, and Sarah and I can go about answering those questions. So again, thank you so much for allowing me to present, and we look forward to your questions now.
One question that's been asked is if we will be able to provide a copy of the presentation. So there will be the webinar recording posted on the website, and we can also post the slides there as well.
Yes.
Marty, I think you did a great job. Oh, we have a question. I don't know if we can unmute folks or not.
Let me see.
I think we
Okay,
can.
I can hit allow mic. Dar, you should be able to ask a question.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. Sorry, I was going to type. I wasn't sure if I was going to have time. The FEC bot, I think, is the name of the database that you described. I was curious for some clarity on if it'll be more so the designated nonprofit manager that receives the training for this database, given that they'll be the ones that would manage it. But in general, is it just like a generic training as part of the partnership that manager would receive, or? Yeah.
Yes. So the FECBot database, which is that database to track data and outcomes for residents, that is a Salesforce platform. And part of the training for the staff will be to go through how to administer that database, enter information, analyze the database. So that will all be provided as part of the training to the nonprofit and Financial Empowerment Center staff.
Okay. Got it. All right.
Yeah. Thank you. And if you want to ask questions, please do a dart and just say, I have a question, and we can unmute you. Kathy, the RFP mentions potential NFP partnerships. Do you know if this is a model used at other FECs? Sarah, I don't know if you want to
Sure.
take
You know,
this question.
No, we can chat with our friends at Bloomberg and find out if it's been a model used. I think our kind of thinking as we approach this is we want the strongest organization or organizations possible to be able to provide this. So if it makes sense to have a partnership where, there's kind of two separate skill sets that can be brought to the table, then that would be great. I think we would also want to just caution though that there would need to be one organization primarily accountable to the city. So I'm happy to look into that further though and email you, Kathy. And I should say we are planning to post an FAQ document on the website as well. So we'll add these questions into that and update that as we get more questions. So let's see, Latanya Newhouse, how many clients do you expect the nonprofit to serve in a given year? Marty, I'll toss that to you.
Yeah. So Latanya, I will double check, and again, we'll put on the FAQ if there is a difference. I believe the requirements from the City for Financial Empowerment Fund are at least 480 clients in that initial year and at least 600 clients in subsequent years. I would say that is kind of at a minimum. The city is hoping to get more clients than that. And I will get back to you on whether that means if a resident comes for 2 sessions, that counts as 2 clients, or if that counts as 1 client. I cannot answer that off the top of my head, but I will get it to you. But expectations of that would be those at a minimum. As we go into different maybe contract agreements, that number may change, but at a minimum, that is what we are looking at, which is, I would say, that's a requirement for the City Financial Empowerment Fund. So that's pretty on par with other cities and cities of this size. So yes, if that answers your question.
One more question. I know earlier you showed a map of the different FEC sites across the country, and I think it was pretty spread out. I think mostly towards the east of the U.S. But I'd be curious if there was more data that we would have access to in order to understand even just like the dynamics of the regions, like what are the demographics looking like, and the debt reduced savings on like places that are mostly populated or maybe have different policies, politics, etc. I don't know if there's access to that data that we would be able to have.
That's a really good question. I think this comes from the Bloomberg Cities for Financial Empowerment. I don't know if I got that acronym right, Marty, but we can certainly check with them and see if in that report there's other data they can share with us about. I think your question is sort of like, probably, is South Bend at all similar to some of these other cities, and what has their success rate been like for comparable cities? Maybe like a Pittsburgh as opposed to a San Francisco or Los Angeles or something. So that's definitely something we can follow up on.
Okay.
Great question.
Thank you.
And as questions keep coming, as you go through this RFP process or have questions, feel free to email. It's at rdcrfp@southbendin.gov, or my email or Sarah's email, mkennedy@southbendin.gov. We'll post these questions on an FAQ on the website as well, but as questions come, we'll be happy to answer those as well. We put April 5th as that deadline just so that we can have time to produce all the questions before, or April 8th is the deadline, so we can have time to produce all the questions before the actual deadline. But as questions come, please feel free in the next coming days to email us.
Maybe we'll give it another minute or so for anyone that has questions. Again, thank you all for your interest and for joining us this morning to talk about this. We're excited to see so many of you interested in the FEC.
Thanks, Mary. Thank you, Dara.
All right, I think that's probably it. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you, everyone. Take care.